Thanks for joining us. Today we're diving into the world of meme marketing. Sanjeev is the Chief Meme Officer at Supermeme.ai. Supermeme is a text-to-meme AI generator that was started in January 2022. They have a three-person Bootstrapped team and are on a mission to democratize meme creation and to break the internet. They were number one product on Product Hunt, and they have 500,000 users so far with spending $0 in marketing. Thanks for doing this. So we could start with perhaps like what is meme marketing, and how do you distinguish that from other forms of marketing?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so Supermeme, I think the thesis are and we're based on the concept of meme marketing, right? The idea is simple. Like you use memes in your marketing, and the why behind that is literally every brand is marketing the same way. Like they have similar types of content, like you have blog posts, you have webinars, you have videos, and it becomes hard to distinguish from the noise. And as consumers, you start tuning out, right? Like you scroll LinkedIn, you scroll Twitter, and you see the same kind of marketing content. You're not going to pay attention to it. On the other side, you have memes that have the ability to break through the noise. Like you keep scrolling social media, and then you see a meme, you'd at least pause for a second to see what it is, because it's very easy to consume. It's hardly going to take a few seconds. So the idea is that can brands leverage memes in their marketing, and can they use that to break through the noise and get their audience attention? So for that, obviously you need the ability to create memes, and Supermeme makes it easy, or rather we want to make it easy for brands to create memes where you don't have to go through the tedious process of finding out the right meme template and writing out the copy, where you just go in and you enter the text, and we'll kind of give you a set of options for memes that you can use. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind meme marketing, and why brands should be looking to adopt it.
Okay, would it be fair to say that like people's attention these days is being sort of like pulled in lots of different directions, and so
Definitely.
like a meme is like a way of sort of concentrating that and getting people to focus on something?
Yeah, because see, social media is one of the ways in which you're connecting to people, and there's just tons of content being created. And even if you look at other areas, like for example, emails, like your inbox is flooded. Everywhere, you're almost receiving the same kind of content. So it's like you have the control over your time, right? You don't want to be consuming everything. But then because memes make you laugh, and memes have the ability to communicate something funny, they've still like stood that test of time, right? Where if you still people share memes with each other, but then if you compare that with the number of people who share blog posts with you, or who share educational content with you, that number is way lower, because they don't want to miss out on an opportunity to make someone else laugh. So when that's a scenario, I think brands should be leveraging, and brands have been using humor in different ways, and memes are a good vessel to carry a message from brands.
Okay, yeah, I mean that certainly makes sense, and yeah, we've seen a lot of powerful examples of brands using memes in order to get people's attention and get really sort of encapsulate a particular problem or a particular angle. I've seen like oftentimes the meme itself isn't. It seems like it isn't funny necessarily. It's just like a way of emphasizing a problem. I know you have the meme marketing guide, and you talked about how when a brand is making a meme, sort of the first step is identifying a problem.
Yep.
Could you, I guess, talk more about that?
Yeah. So, and a little bit of background about how I started using memes, right? So I've been using memes for almost a decade now in different areas. Like I started with conference presentations where I would go on stage and present. And at conferences, you're traditionally used just being presented with bullet points or graphs and charts. And I figured, okay, if I need to stand out from the crowd, I will do something different. And memes has been something that I've been doing on social media. So how I use memes in conferences is, when I talk about a topic, I first want to establish the problem, so that when I'm talking about a solution, it makes sense. And that's kind of what a brand is trying to do as well. Like they have a product or service they're trying to sell. And for their audience, they first need to establish that this problem exists. And problem is something their audience will resonate with. So memes are a great way to highlight that problem. And I've also seen the other side, right, where brands are using memes to promote their own product or service, and that usually doesn't work as well, because meme is not a great tool for that. But then for highlighting the problem, it works beautifully because it has an ability to exaggerate the problem to a level of humor, and that sticks in people's mind. And you can also use it to create awareness around the problem. And when people continuously, like as a brand, if you continuously post memes about a certain problem, they're going to start associating you with that problem. So next time when they encounter the problem, you're going to come into their mind, and they're automatically going to look you up to see, okay, like, you have a solution that they can work with. So I think that's kind of where meme marketing is not just about posting memes on the internet, but it also has a way to positively impact your business.
Certainly. So you've grown to over 500,000 users without spending anything on marketing. It seems like part of that is SEO and organic traffic. I know that you mentioned that you rank very highly for like AI meme generator, and it sounds like so some of that is accident, some of that is you sort of being in the right place at the right time. Could you sort of break down how that organic growth happened? Because obviously there are a lot of entrepreneurs who would like to have 500,000 users without paying for anything on ads.
Sure. I think a start of that is the three co-founders of Supermeme, like me, Nico, and Ramshik. Like together, when we started, we had a combined following of 50,000 across all social media apps. That really helped to get us started. Like when we launched, we were only doing social media marketing from our own personal profile, where we just post updates of what we are building, and that got us that initial reach. I think that was helping us get about 3,000, 4,000 signups a month. And because the idea of meme kind of applies to a large set of audience, that worked in our favor as well. We are not building for a niche. Like literally anyone could be using meme. You don't even have to be in tech for you to use meme. So it has a large area of audience. And then the next kind of boost came from product and launch.
If you enjoy this, you should sign up to our free newsletter, 3600. In our newsletter, we have valuable content that goes beyond what's available in our videos, links to free tools, resources, and all kinds of awesome stuff. You should head over to our website, join3600.com, to sign up today.
Where we ended up being product of the day, and then that got us a lot of attention from a lot of product and users, and then word started spreading organically. I think Supermeme is also the kind of app that you want to share with people because it's kind of different, it's unique, and it's fun. So I think that really helped, because if I discovered Supermeme, I could be sharing it with a WhatsApp group or in my office Slack channel, and that really helped spread the word. And then we realized that that's not going to help us scale more than that, because we are kind of exhausting our social media audience. And that's when I figured, okay, I am the non-technical I am the non-technical co-founder, so it is my job to figure out how do we scale traffic. And then I started, I have a background in marketing as well, so I've done this before. So I started doing some SEO research and figured that the meme related keywords have a high search volume. And most of them are topic plus meme. For example, customer support memes or cybersecurity memes, right? So those kind of keywords have really crazy search volumes, and we started tapping into that because we have Supermeme. We can generate insane amount of memes in a short period of time. So we started putting out 100 memes for customer support, 100 memes for IT. And because the idea of AI memes, we started before ChatGPT, so it was before the whole generative AI boom. So we were already doing AI memes when generative AI wasn't popular. So I think that gave us a head start, where because you're writing about AI memes, and our website obviously has a lot of AI meme content, so that started picking up. And then the intentional effort came in when we want to write a lot about meme marketing as a niche. And obviously the website has about 100 pages. A lot of it, with the help of ChatGPT, we were able to generate a lot of content. And a lot of it has educational content around memes. And there's not a lot of website on the internet which gives you educational content. So there's a long page about how do you use memes in marketing, and all of that is based on personal experience. I've done that in the past. So all of that is structured educational content about memes. And over time, obviously, thanks to Google, it started naturally rising up on top. And we started getting a lot of traffic on the internet. But I think an important phase in between is when generative AI boom happened. We started getting listed in a lot of these articles about top AI tools to watch out for, 15 AI tools for marketers and stuff like that. So I think it's a combination of all these things, and it happened in the right order. And now we are comfortably generating about 1,500, 2,000 signups a day. And most of that is driven through Google. But we still get mentioned in listicles, we still get mentioned in social media. And when people share the memes created from Supermeme on LinkedIn or Twitter, they tag Supermeme. So all of that is contributing to the growth.
So in the oftentimes with like SEO content, there's a quality versus quantity trade-off, perhaps. So you talk a bit more about how much, like what volume of content, like say once you've identified a keyword that you want to rank for, you then write, because it didn't look like you have that many blog posts, or like the blog posts aren't that long, but perhaps they're very high quality. You have a sense of sort of like how many words you'd have to write, or how much, right, I guess sort of like what that content generation process would look like.
All right. Yeah. So I think for me, because I've gone through this in the past, I know as much as like, it might sound a little unconventional to say that you have to like, quality over quantity sounds great, but then I know that you still have to optimize for quantity. You still have to have long articles. You still have to have many articles. So that was my strategy to start with. And because it's memes, it's a topic I'm very comfortable with. I know that I will not be putting out fluff. It is like a content area that comes naturally to me. So earlier this year, I think Jan and Feb, I optimized for quantity. I wanted to put out as many pages as possible, and I wanted them to be as long as possible. So I was going for really long articles. And if like that's not possible, I was going for pages filled with a lot of memes. So like the pages will be long. It will like keep you on the page. So I was optimizing for that until a point it made sense. Like I like quantity for quantity's sake is obviously not good, but I was still indexing towards quantity, where I would put out like one article a day, and I would heavily leverage ChatGPT because it helps me structure the content. I would still be writing out the core content pieces myself, but then the structure came from ChatGPT, and it helped me like put out articulate a lot of my thoughts, which would like otherwise take me long. So that's I was going for quantity, but now I think we are at a place where we are ranking for some of the keywords. I think during the optimization phase is when I would like invest a lot more in quality, and like making sure that okay, are the articles really useful? Like is there anywhere where we can like amplify it, or we can like enhance it by adding more visuals or more videos? So that's the phase that I am in right now. But then earlier, I think I just wanted to get out articles and get the traffic in, and it worked for me because of also the area that we are playing in. Not a lot of people are writing about memes in an educational format, so I think that worked in our favor. So we're not competing with like similar content. So this is kind of the only kind of content available. So I think for that, quantity was like more important for me than putting out like really like crafty pieces of content.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, how many keywords did you focus on?
I think primarily it was memes and AI memes. Memes was really hard to rank for that. That just like and they have like over I think 1.5 to 2 million search volume, but then like literally every other page has that. But AI memes was slightly easier because we are kind of one of the first few tools to do AI memes, so that was slightly easier. And meme marketing was also easier. So those are the primary keywords that we're going after. But then the ones with high search volume aren't necessarily like directly relevant to us, but then I understood that they have a potential of bringing the target audience. For example, customer support memes. So those like maybe they are not the audience that's going to buy super meme directly, but then the volumes are really high, and I didn't want to miss out on that opportunity. Like customer support memes, I think has about 15K to 20K monthly search volume, and I was like, I'm not going to miss out. And then I started looking at what other areas like does it have. So anything over like 1K, I would put a page for it. I'll create memes using super meme, and they'll just like listed. But primarily it's AI memes and meme marketing, and then like for example social media memes is something that I would target, or marketing memes is something that I would target. So anything that is like relevant to us, I will put in more effort. But then I also want to tick off everything that has high search volume and has a potential to bring us the right audience.
So in the sort of like long tail keywords, you would have a page about customer support memes, and like maybe like sales memes, and then maybe like
Cybersecurity memes.
influencer memes,
Yeah,
like things like that. And would those pages perhaps have similar content, but sort of be rewritten for different personas? I imagine is how that would work.
yeah, but then but because they were memes, the words in those pages are pretty low. They're just like stuffed with a lot of memes, and obviously we have actual super memes, so generating those memes at scale is not going to be a problem. We can just like do it. I just sit down for 30 minutes. I can come up with like 50 memes, and I just pick out the ones that I like, and just put it out there. So most of those pages are just memes, and that's what people are also looking for. When someone searches for sales memes, they want to look at sales memes. So, and we can give that to them.
Okay, and then once, would you have to? I mean, once somebody is on a page and has read a few hundred words about how to use memes, and I imagine it isn't too much of a hard sell for them to use Supermeme, and you have just like a button at the top, and so it's not too much work after that.
Yeah,
that is fantastic. Yeah, I mean it's fascinating how, because now at this point it's like the content is so easy for people to make. It is perhaps hard to see how people can stand out with SEO, but maybe just by identifying the right use case and putting in the work. So like, how long did you have to work on the sort of SEO side before you saw some results? Because I imagine sometimes there could be a lag there.
I think 2 months is when 2 months was my focus area on SEO. That was earlier this year, and we started seeing results from May, June, when the number of signups started going up. So it took us a good 2-3 months before the pages started ranking and started showing results, and they're still moving up in the rank. Like, I haven't done any SEO work for the past 6 months, but I still see, like, I still get notifications on email that, like, you've broken into the top 10 page for this keyword. And I was like, okay, that's good. So I truly understood the long-term value of SEO. Like I said, I've done that before, so I know that it takes time. But then to see it happen, we back in my previous organization, it was like a big team working on that goal. But it felt good when I was the only one doing this, and then I saw the results coming in and I saw the traffic coming in. I think that was really good to see.
Yeah, I could see that's oftentimes the tricky thing, is that with ads you get a immediate result, but in the long term perhaps you pay for it. Whereas with a lot of the organic strategies like SEO, there's a longer lead time, and but is ultimately perhaps more profitable.
We didn't have a choice, right? Like, because we are bootstrapped, ads was never an option. Like, we didn't have the resource to invest in ads, so this was kind of the only way. And I think that really forced us to just sit down and do this. Like, for example, if we are funded, we would have the money, we would probably default to spending on ads. I think being bootstrapped and being a small team and just ads not being an option, just made sure that, okay, this is the only way we have to go.
Yeah, and I think we've been seeing a lot of companies that are more because they're forced to be more efficient, therefore more creative in figuring out how to reach their customers. So you launched on Product Hunt and you got to #1 product, and I think you were #4 product of the week also. What did you, I mean, besides obviously just like launching on Product Hunt, and as you said, you had personal brands and told your network about it. Is there anything else you did in order to get to #1 on Product Hunt?
No, I think it was a very basic launch from there is almost no prep, obviously, just the basics. Okay, we had to do a video where we need to have screenshots, and we had one of our friends help us hunt. He's used to hunting on Product Hunt, and that he has a lot of following on Product Hunt, so maybe that contributed. But apart from that, I think what is really helping us, not just on Product Hunt but even overall, is that people are curious about the fact that there is a tool that can create AI memes. So the moment they see the word meme and AI in any combination, they're going to want to click on it. They're going, okay, what does this tool do? So that's why we have a lot of signups, and a lot of them are just curious, just want to see what this tool does. So I think that really helped and contribute definitely in the Product Hunt launch, but also elsewhere on the internet. If someone shares Supermeme.ai, they're going to see meme and AI, and they're going to be like, okay, what does this tool do?
Right. Yeah, that certainly makes sense. And and also, I mean, it's a great product. It's like once you go into it and you start using it, you're like, oh, cool. A bunch of memes. So a lot of AIs aren't very funny. Like, especially Bard and ChatGPT are just a terrible sense of humor. And so for Supermeme, you must have some sort of custom prompt for each template that gets jokes that have some possibility of being funny. So it's like, how did you develop those prompts, or how do you think about making AI that has a sense of humor when you I assume you must have a global audience, and
Yeah.
lots of different people find different things funny for lots of
Yes.
different reasons.
I think that's a challenge that we're still dealing with, right? So here's how I thought about it. Because memes are not objective. I mean, there is no one right meme. Like you said, I could look at a meme and I find it funny, and you could look at it and how do you find this funny? But what I had in mind is I have a good sense of funny meme just from the sheer number of memes that I've created myself. So I spent time in curating a list of meme templates and also coming up with metadata for each of these templates that can then become input to the prompt. So I think with that combination and users input together, we will come up with a copy that is relevant to that template, right? Because for example, if you look at what really makes a meme funny, it is obviously the template itself, which has some of the humor baked into it. But the next step is when you write a copy that has to be relevant to that meme template. Otherwise, it's just disconnected text. I think that's what we are really working on. Can we come up with consistently come up with copies that are relevant to both the situation that the user has entered and also the template that is underlying? So that I think that is also like a spectrum, right? You're always not going to get it right. But then if you land in the 70% right area, most likely you're going to make a meme that is going to be funny to some people. And there are always going to be people who will who will never find some of these memes funny, and that's okay. I think there are enough people on the internet who will be happy with the kind of memes that we are generating, and they're going to be happy posting it on LinkedIn. For example, I know that Elon posts a lot of memes on Twitter, and if you look at some of them, you wouldn't for example, I would not find it funny, but then if I go into the reach, and just because of the number of audience that Elon has, there are always going to be if you increase your audience pool, there are always going to be people who are going to find something funny. I think where we got lucky is that we were able to increase our audience pool to a point where we have enough people found enough people who like the quality of memes that Supermeme generates, and they're committing to it. They're willing to pay us for it. I think because of that, we were able to find enough people, and we're constantly working on improving the prompts. We're constantly working on adding more templates, and that's always going to be a journey. But then I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we say, okay, these memes are now funny, and that's the end of it. I think it's just about improving these parameters. Can we increase the relevance of the copy to both match the template as well as the input from the user?
So I could see that you have. So can you share how many templates do you have?
Yeah, we have about 1,000 to 1,200 templates, and all of them are curated. We made sure that there are no NSFW templates. That is really important to us because we're targeting brands, and we didn't want to mess with that. And all of them are mostly location agnostic. Anyone could look at that meme and they can find it funny. So those are some of the parameters, because I was curating them manually. So I was going through I would find memes on the internet, and if a meme template was trending, then I would just take it out and then put it into the database. So we have about 1,000, 1,200. And with every AI generated meme, you get 8 memes from there. And our goal is that we gave them options, because we realized that the same problem, right? The humor kind of scale differs from people to people. So by giving them more options, we are increasing our chances that some people would just find the meme that they're looking for.
So how does with the AI gets the text prompt for the text to meme generator, how does it determine the 8 templates that it goes for initially?
Yeah, so we have our own search, which kind of was built to solve for this problem, right? Because finding the right meme template itself a problem of its own. For example, the whole way in which Supermeme was started is I started working on that problem. So I'm not a coder, but then I use no-code tools to solve for that problem. But, I'm someone who wants to create memes, but then I have no idea about meme templates. But I know what I want to create a meme about. For example, I want to create a meme about being betrayed, or being trying to choose between one or the other. So I could just go in and just enter betrayed, and then maybe it'll give me a meme template about being stabbed in the back, or there is a meme template about someone, a student passing a piece of paper back. So there are different meme templates that kind of get associated with an emotion. So our search engine of meme templates is built for that. So what happens is when a user enters a text, the emotion from that is being detected, and that's passed into the search engine, and that will then return the appropriate meme templates for for that particular scenario.
And so is that search engine is using an LLM or as a ranking algorithm, or?
I mean, like the actual technical area is something that I'll probably not be the best person to talk about, but I know that it takes in an input and it's indexed somewhere. I don't know where. I think I'll probably the technical co-founders might know, but it takes in an input of an emotion and returns like the meme templates.
Okay, yeah, and then once it returns the templates, the next step is coming up with the copy, and then each template has a sort of like a prepackaged prompt to get the best humor. And then you must be collecting feedback from the memes that you're generating in order to improve the process. Or
I want to say yes, but we don't do that. Again, it's purely from a logistics standpoint, right? Like I think for us, because we're a team of 3 Bootstrap founders who also have other projects that we run and like other things that we do. So we kind of eliminated a lot of things that traditional companies will have to do. For example, this is a logical thing that we are supposed to do, but then we were trusting our own judgments, and just because the process of implementing that and collecting feedback and improving on that is not something that would be feasible for us as this team. Similarly, we don't do like extensive customer support. We have a chat on the website, but then I'm the one who's going in. By the sheer volume, I realize that it's going to be impossible for me to sit on this and just reply to everything. So I decide what chats I reply to, I decide what emails I reply to, and that's just a choice because of our constraints. So I think this is something similar. So as much as we want to improve on the feedback, it's not logically feasible. And second, I think more than, and it goes back to the same problem that we talked about, right? It's not going to be universal. If let's say someone clicks on, I find this meme funny, and someone else clicks on, I don't find this meme funny, that number of contradictions is going to be too high for that data to even be used for us. So I think we're better off using our own intuitions and own kind of judgment, because we believe as a team we kind of know how to get that right, and then spend our time in crunching those numbers. Maybe at some point we will get to that area where we are collecting feedback and figuring out how to use that to better our prompts. I think right now this works for us, and we're kind of just leading the way there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, because I could see that it's like you're giving people 8 different options, and so in some sense that is giving you a lot of latitude to try different things, and then people are gonna look at the 8 and they're gonna say, well that's stupid and that's stupid and that's stupid, but that's funny, and and humor is such a hard thing for a system like this to get down. And like you said, if you have that kind of feedback, like a lot of times, people find the opposite sorts of things funny, or will find, like some people will find something, offensive, and some people, will think that's funny, and so it's a very tricky problem, and so it's interesting that you aren't that you aren't using that feedback. So have you had any issues with churn, or how do you get users coming back to Supermeme?
Yeah, I think our churn numbers aren't it's not something that we're happy with, but we also realize the nature of the app that we have. It is going to be that that challenge is going to exist, and we're kind of made peace with that. So what usually happens is that when people sign up for Supermeme, they probably have a specific use case in mind. They're coming up with a presentation and they want to do a meme, and we also have a lot of interest from educators where when they're preparing lectures, they want to use memes. So my hypothesis is that when people sign up for Supermeme, they are anyways not going to be in for the long haul, because the use cases that they have in mind is short term. They have a few things that they want to do. They will go in, sign up, create those memes, and after that they're out. What we want to do as a company is to increase the long-term customers, and that's probably going to come from marketing teams. So right now we have a mix of marketing teams and individuals who are using Supermeme. So the churn that we see is mostly from the individual side. When the use case is over, they just don't have the need for the app anymore. They're going to churn. But marketers are going to have, for example, if you're a social media marketer and your job is to increase the following of your brand company, you're going to need access to Supermeme to just generate the number of memes day in and day out. So there we've managed to stick around. And we also have an API where any application can just use Supermeme's API and like they can just use it as part of like their own product. For example, your email marketing tool and you want to enable your users to use memes in their marketing, then you can use Supermemes API. So we have API customers that like, there the stickiness is high because like of just of the nature of product. I think we have our ways to tackle it, but we've understood that we can't compare the churn that we get with like a traditional industry churn percentage and be like, we have to reduce the churn. We just know that the churn is always going to be there, and we have to that's not an active problem we're looking to solve. I think we're just looking to improve the overall quality and overall stickiness of the product. Like we recently launched a mobile app on the App Store and the Play Store one is coming. So that those are areas where we feel if we increase the usage and if we just like make that loop of people coming back, that's going to improve our chances. But then it's not something that is coming from data. Like we've not been able to like talk to all the churn customers, understand why they churn, and then come up with this. I think we're trusting our intuition and judgment to see, okay, we'll just broadly proceed in the right direction, and like we'll let the results tell us if we're going in the right direction.
That makes sense. So could you talk a bit more about the API and like what sorts of applications are people building using the Supermeme API?
The popular ones are bots, like Telegram bots or Twitter bots or like WhatsApp bots. So people buy the APIs and then they just integrate it into like building a bot where they just send in text inputs and then you get like finished memes out of it. And some of the companies that we're talking to are exploring it more from like social media apps or like email marketing apps where they want to have memes as part of the offering, and like it's probably not something they're going to invest their time in building. So that's what we're seeing at the moment. And like some of these, like there is a meme app which uses crypto and NFT based memes. I'm not the expert there, so I don't exactly know how they're doing it, but I know that like they're an active user of the meme API. So we're seeing a bunch of use cases. And I think as a company also we want to power these use cases than building it ourselves. Like for example, we never want to be a social media management app to help you like post memes on the internet. But then if let's say a product like Buffer wants to use our APIs to help them do that, then like that's probably, and again that's also logical because we are never going to grow into a 200 300 member org and trying to build all these features. We would rather enable like other products to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's what makes a lot of sense. But so would you see these more in a? I could see like a tool like Buffer where they are providing the end user with a bunch of meme options, and then provided by Supermeme, and then they can select the meme that they would want to use. Do you see applications where there's a bot that's sort of talking directly to some third party, and they're just coming up with memes on the fly and sending them without sort of a human in the loop?
Maybe like again, bots can be an example. Right? That's the only thing that I can think of. Or maybe in let's say a more traditional use case, a Slack or an MS Teams bot where you just like add mention Supermeme and then it just kind of but I don't see a use case where it can be fully automatic. Maybe in like auto replies for chat applications probably, where like but again I don't see that. It's more a fun use case, but then we want to focus more on like use cases that create value. That's why we are saying to meme marketing, because there is a real value that you can assign it to. Like you increase your audience and that directly contributes to revenue growth. The fun use cases are great. Obviously, memes are fun. I think for us to survive as a business and grow as a business, I think we want to focus more on value creating use cases.
Right. Yeah. It's because I've seen chatbot flows that include memes where the meme is a key part of sort of like building the rapport with the end user. Yeah. And in some cases, like the memes are customized. So it's like I saw there was a chatbot flow where there was a superhero meme, and it was like a male superhero if the user was a man, or a female superhero if it was a woman. And I could anyway. I sort of, you could always imagine these cases where you have some sort of like very custom API, but then there's always the risk that the API sends some very offensive or
I think the risk of building a product like Supermeme is underrated and something that we don't talk about much, right? Because you could very easily end up offending someone, and like it would never be your intention. And that's why I think curating the right meme templates and making sure that like none of them are offended is important, because like the example that you said could come up.
Right. Yeah. So I could see with templates, like you can make sure that the templates aren't offensive, but the text on the templates, you don't have as much control over.
I think because we use OpenAI, they have their own regulations and like their own policies, and I think to an extent we can also control it. So far we've not come across a scenario where someone's complained to us saying that this meme is offensive. I think we're probably I think we're dependent a lot on OpenAI's ability to make sure that the content is not offensive, and I think that's where we are depending. And the meme template isn't directly in our control, so that's something that we directly control, and we make sure that that's why right now, the only people who can upload meme templates is us. Like eventually, we might get into a place where we let the community upload memes, and that goes into the part of our database. But when that time comes, I think we still have to figure out a way to apply this thought process at scale, because when we're targeting brands and marketing teams, this is very important. Like you can't just come up with any meme, and we don't want to risk their audience getting offended.
But you haven't had any issues with sort of like racist memes or sort of like political memes could I suppose be difficult,
because we have a control at the template level, and OpenAI also has a filter that you can turn on to make sure that none of these come up. So far we've not had anything where people have complained to us, and because we also use this every day, I have not come across anything that can even be, and that is my personal kind of policy around humor and meme creation as well. Even when I post memes, even if I find I have an idea and find that certain memes can be funny, if I think that it could potentially offend a group of people or someone, I would not post it, because I don't think it's worth it at that cost.
Yeah, because I mean with every meme you have like a super meme watermark on it.
Yep.
And so it's like it's very impressive that you're able to come up with actually genuinely funny memes, but also not terrible memes or offensive memes. Because that's definitely a hard sort of road to thread. So what upcoming features or developments do you sort of have in the pipeline? What are your plans for 2024? Sort of where do you want to take Supermeme?
I think right now the focus is launching a mobile app. We figured that a lot of our signups are from mobile, and it kind of makes sense just have this on both App Store and Play Store. So we're just working on that. I think we eventually want to get to a point where marketers are regularly using Supermeme. I think that's where, as a business, that'll take us, and that will be one kind of path that we'll go on. Parallelly, we want to make sure that we are increasing the quality, and quality is very subjective, right? But then that's a word that we're using. Quality of memes that is being generated in Supermeme, that could be through better prompts or adding more metadata into the template itself. So that will be an ongoing activity, and that is something that there is not a visible feature, but then that'll be something that we're constantly working on. Apart from that, there'll be small improvements that we want to keep doing. For example, we want to launch Slack teams or Discord bots to make it easy for people to just making the distribution a little wider. We probably would want to do meme keyboards. The idea being we want to get meme up to a point that GIFs are doing. For example, GIFs are so natural in conversations these days, and we want to see if we can push memes into that. Can meme keyboards be a thing where you just go into when you go into GIF and type a search term, you could do the same thing on Supermeme, and then you'd get a customized ready-made contextual meme that exists. So those are some of the areas that we're thinking. But again, we are pretty nimble, so because we're a small bootstrap team, so it's not we have a roadmap for the year. These are some of the immediate things that we're working on, and I think the larger vision remains democratizing meme creation. We want to make meme creation as easy and as accessible as possible for literally anyone who want to create and communicate using memes. So that remains the same.
Yeah, I can imagine a future where it's just all communication is just memes. It's just everybody's. So you're getting. It's interesting that you a lot of mobile use is with from marketing teams. You're finding that marketing teams are using Supermeme on their phone rather than on a desktop. I guess you would think that in a professional setting, if somebody is using say a buffer or a social media management tool, they wouldn't be on their phone necessarily.
I think a lot of traffic coming in is from mobile, but they may not necessarily be from marketing teams. I think because we built it out for marketing teams, mobile wasn't a top of mind use case for us, because the same assumption, right? If you're using memes in a marketing context, you would you'd be creating them on a laptop. But the traffic coming in and the discovery is happening through mobile phones, and it made sense for us to have mobile apps there, because when someone discovers Supermeme, and obviously the experience from a mobile browser is not as good as a web browser. So at some point we knew that we have to go the mobile app way, and we're seeing a lot of non-traditional, non-marketing use cases from a discovery standpoint. They just discover the app, so we want to make sure that we are giving them a good experience, so the chances of them converting into a paid user is high. But the marketing teams, I'm sure, are if maybe a marketer could discover Supermeme on their phones and then continue using it on their webs, but then when they're discovering it, we want to give them a good experience. So mobile app, that became like a mandate there.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting how you want to make sure that the first experience somebody has with Supermeme is a really good experience, because then they will think, when they want to create a meme, they'll oh, I go to Supermeme, and then they do that a few more times, and they're like, oh, well, why not?
And once you have the app on the phone, it's going to you have the chance of you going back to it is much higher rather than sitting on a web URL. So we knew when we started, we knew that at some point we have to do mobile app. I think what really pushed us to do it was the number of traffic. We almost get equal traffic from web and mobile, so we just have to do it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So I saw they're generating memes in 110 languages is very impressive. How do you think about the multilingual meme creation? You have different. You can't have. So you said 1,200 meme templates in 110 languages. I don't imagine that you have 100 or 120,000 prompts in different languages for each template. So how does that work?
No, I think it's simple in terms of we just use Google Translate API and we just translate the final text and then pull it on. But I think eventually, for I'm from India, right? We have so many languages here, and Google Translate doesn't do a good job of translating it in a casual tone, which is what we need for memes. I think eventually our road there will be we are developing a lot of language specific LLMs that are coming up in different locations. I think eventually we'll move to a point where for every language we'll probably use an API to not just OpenAI, but then different LLM that does a better job at that local language, and then use that to generate memes. For now, we use Google Google Translate, and it works well for popular language. It works well for Spanish, it works well for French. But where I don't see it working well is especially in a country like India, where we have so many languages and each language is different and the context is different. And when Google translates the text from English to a native language, it doesn't have that same essence. So I think that's where local translation and local LLMs are important. And I see those developments are happening. I think once that reaches a stage, we would probably use that over Google Translate.
So you could see a situation where that the LLM is built, or the original meme is generated in that language, because there's the literal translation of the words, but obviously what is funny in an American context is different than what's funny in a Spanish or a French context. And if you translate word for word, I imagine a joke in in Hindi or in French into English, it's it's not going to be funny in the same way or necessarily.
But the translation is one of the popular features, because I get a lot of chats which are in languages that I don't understand. So which means that a lot of non-English users are actively using Supermeme and trying it out. So we know that it works to an extent, but then because I'm I am multilingual, so I have a local language that I speak, and I find that it doesn't work as well as it works in English. So my kind of eventual thought is that means the LLM itself isn't ready for direct generating text that can be directly used. So I would better off be using a native LLM that was created for this language and using that than translating it. But right now it works, and there are no other AI meme generators that are multilingual. So I think in that context it works for us. But that was a feature that it was not something that came from the audience, right? So Ramshri, one of our co-founders, just decided to build it. He was like, I see a lot of people signing up from different locations, so I think multilingual is something that we have to do. So I'm just gonna use Google Translate and I'm going to do this, and it worked for us.
Yeah, I could see like that's the advantage of having a small team, and
Yep.
for a lot of these languages, like you said, there isn't an alternative that even offers memes in their language, and so there might just be a low bar to clear.
Yep.
So as like you said, you're the non-technical co-founder, but as the non-technical co-founder, what do you know about the tech stack, or like how you know as
I know that we use Next.js, so that is something that I know. And like I know that the images are stored and indexed somewhere in a database, and that's kind of the connection. But that's pretty far as my tech knowledge goes. And I think it's like I've also made a conscious choice to stay away, because I am a technical person by education, but then I've made a conscious choice to stay away from that, because I think that separation and demarcation is important. So I just like work with them to understand like what we need to build, and I don't spend time to figure out like how that happens.
that yeah, that makes sense. So you did mention that you're using the OpenAI AI API. Have
Mhm.
you thought about using one of the other, it's like Claude from Anthropic, or Mistral,
Not,
or Llama 2, or one of these
not
other
yet,
models?
but I think there's benefit in experimenting and seeing if the quality of meme as we see improves, but not right now. I think because we have a working system that is like that works for us, so we are continuing down this path. But yeah, I think at some point it might be good to have like alternatives, or maybe there are some use cases where a different LLM might work for us, different provider might work for us. But I think for now, we are like we're kind of happy with using OpenAI's API.
And are you able to share like what fraction of your revenue goes to the cost of the API? Because I know that that's
Yeah,
for
that's
some AI companies is very high, but
no. I think it's comfortable. It's comfortable that we are able to take a profit. That is a big area where like that's probably the biggest area where we are contributing, and like where part of our revenue goes. But then I can say that it's not big enough that it's hurting like our ability to work on this every day. Like we're able to take a comfortable like a profit from it month on month, and so I think in that sense it is justifiable. But it is quite significant. We are constantly figuring out ways to like bring that down, but it is not a burning problem. Percentage wise, I don't see it going beyond 25%. That's a very rough number, but I know that it's not at a point that is like keeping us up at night. So we're fine with that number.
so did that go into your, because you have a freemium model. People can use Supermeme to generate free memes up into a point, and then they have to get to a paid plan. Did your decision to have a freemium plan and how many credits to offer people, like, did the cost of the API factor into that at all?
Yeah, definitely. So we are, like right now we have 20 AI memes. I think we had to figure out a number that is both financially sustainable for us and also gives them enough time to play with the tool to decide if they have to pay pay for that. I think 20 is a good number that we've landed. And when we started out, we started with an unlimited plan. But then we realized that we wanted to have it like a slightly cheaper plan with some capping, and that's when the solo plan came with 100 credits, and that was also had like this whole calculation like going into it. But we understand that like even the OpenAI pricing is evolving, right? Like when we started out, it was a lot more expensive than it is now, and that trend is going to continue. It is going to get cheaper, which is going to give us a lot more leverage for, like, for example, when the OpenAI cost like pricing came down, we didn't lower our prices, but then we worked on improving our prompts. So we ended up paying the same amount, but then our prompts are a lot better, and like the quality of memes also got a lot better. So I think that room to play will always be there. So there is like like time for us to figure out like how we want to do that.
So what kind of conversion rate do you see from people who are on the free plan to people who are on the paid plan?
It's not a number that we're very proud of, but again, the nature of the app is like that. So I mean, we have about like we're at 5K MRR with about 250 like paying customers over time. So purely from that standpoint, it's good. But I almost never consider conversion, because like I said, right, kind of people who come into the website are mostly curious and they're not intended audience. Like, for example, if you run a B2B SaaS, most of the people who you bring on the website are potential customers that, like, they're just looking for something. So there the conversion rate matters, because then there's something wrong with your website and like you could improve the copy and like do a lot. I think for Supermeme, especially with the Gen AI boom, people just want to see, like they want to explore, they want to sign up and see what this tool does. So our conversion rate isn't like, is not a number that we are even tracking, actually, to be honest, because we just broadly know how much we're getting. But I don't think it's relevant for us because of the nature of the tool.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like once you have the mind share in the marketing departments where you're the go-to tool for memes, the and I see also like with the API where you like if you have a lot of other applications that are building on top of Supermeme, which it's like they are very unlikely to rip that out of their application once they're happy with your output. I could yeah, see, I imagine you might have some people who try the free plan and then they'll like have some confidence in it, and then eventually use the API, or perhaps move to a paid plan like a year later. The conversion rates are always very messy to measure.
So again, I know it's very easy to, because a lot of people have that question where you have so many signups but then so little customers, and I think we just accepted that it's going to be like this. So we don't have to that's not a number that we want to increase, but we do want to increase the overall. Like that's always great where we increase the overall traffic, and that is going to positively impact the number of customers and revenue. But then the conversion is something, because we don't know the kind of people who land on the website, and like you said, right, maybe they're landing on the website 1 year later, they have a need for creating memes, and if Supermeme comes to their mind, then that's a win for us.
Perfect. So what's it like building a business with a 3-person remote team? Are you a like asynchronous team also?
Yep, we're mostly asynchronous. We've never met as co-founders. Like we've never met each other like in any combination. Like I've not met Ramsey has not met Nico, and things like that. It works because all three of us are aligned philosophically on why we want to do this, and we're at similar stages in life. So which means that we know, like for example, it'll be a problem if like one of us is like able to contribute a lot into the company, and then that's when the problem started. I think the three of us understand we're doing this because like we believe in the idea of AI memes, and we believe that it's going to help marketing teams. But we also believe that this is a legit way to run a business. Like, it's not like we're starting this and then like eventually we want to raise funds, or we don't know where that path is going to take us. But today we're happy building this remotely and generating like, income for us while doing our own things on the side. And we're mostly asynchronous. We have a WhatsApp group where we communicate. We don't have like a formal project management system. We do get on Zoom calls, like, once or like twice or thrice a month. And that's mostly just to catch up on like what's been happening and how things are. Most of the work happens asynchronously and also happens in individual pockets, right? For example, like I don't have to constantly tell them anything that I do on the marketing side or on the website, because there's just a mutual trust. And similarly, like, they don't have to tell me anything unless it affects the whole business. They could just be working on their own silos, and we just convene when we have to. Apart from that, we're just doing our own things.
And so are there, besides the Zoom meetings like every couple weeks, are there any other rituals that are important, or like so it's all on WhatsApp? You said you just have like a shared WhatsApp thread, and are you just like posting there? I guess it's just sort of like an ongoing conversation essentially.
Yeah, mostly like that, because there is no pressure anywhere, right? Like there is no timeline pressure because we are doing this on the side, and there is no like investor pressure, there is no customer pressure, and we don't take customer pressure. Like obviously we have people who are asking us for features, but then for this to work long term, for this model to work long term, like it's not going to be viable if we just keep putting, because we understand that we're doing this part-time, we're doing this remote, and we're doing this bootstrap. So there are going to be constraints, and we're not going to be able to move as fast as some other companies, and that's okay for us. So we have like obviously we discuss ideas on chats, and mostly it happens that if an idea is like exciting for all of us, that organically just get picked up and prioritized, and like we work on it. And like for example, when I was working on SEO, it was just me doing that for 2 months because I was genuinely interested in getting the traffic up and making sure that we're getting a lot more users. And let's say when Nico works on a mobile app, it is just him, because he wants to launch a mobile app for the company, and Ramsti is doing the Google Translate. It's just him that wants to do it. So when we have our own areas of interest and we just pick it up and start doing it. So there is very little accountability check, or there is very little status updates or anything like that. So we don't have the need to constantly meet and keep each other updated.
That is impressive. So do you use a tool like Loom, or do these sort of like screen recordings? I know there's some basic things too.
Yeah, when we're building something big and we want to give feedback, that's easy to just screen record, talk over it, and do it. Otherwise, we just wait until we meet on our bi-monthly call, and we'll just go over it. So mostly we use our calls to get feedback and just talk about things that are happening. Anything else that comes up during the week is asynchronous, so that goes into the WhatsApp group, and we'll probably have a longer discussion about it on the call.
Interesting. It does seem like you have a lot more teams that are sort of moving to that remote asynchronous model, and it seems like there are a lot of advantages in keeping costs down, basically.
Definitely. It's also the freedom that you get, right? I know that I recently got married a couple of months ago, and just around that time I was not able to contribute much, and I know that the team will understand there is no pressure from anywhere for me to do anything. So that kind of freedom, I think, is a lot more valuable than obviously or rather that kind of freedom is a lot more valuable to us as individuals. So we're able to make this work. So we would rather have this than working 24 hours and losing sleep over some issue and just moving fast and breaking things. I think we want to build something that is bringing us revenue for sure, and we believe in the vision. But at the same time, we don't want to give up on other things. For example, I recently took up an acting gig, and I was able to do that because of this working model. So I for 3 months I was in and out, and I'm also a freelance consultant, so I'm able to divide my time. So that flexibility and freedom, I think all three of us value. So that's why we're able to make it work.
Yeah, I could see there's a lot of people would see that sort of lifestyle flexibility as a very attractive thing, and also lets you take more risk perhaps in some way, because you're there's less downside perhaps, or there's less pressure to sort of make short-term compromises for a longer-term vision. So you had mentioned that you're a product enthusiast, but you don't like being a product manager. And I saw you had on LinkedIn, you had some skits that you had a sort of making fun of being a product manager, basically. And I saw you were a product manager in a sort of previous professional life. So could you talk more about what do you not like about being a product manager? Why is that not the right role for you, do you think?
I think it started with when I started, obviously when I started working in SaaS, product management was I looked up to the role, and I wanted to be a product manager. But over time, what I realized is the sense of product building is very different from product management. I think that's the distinction that I want to make. For example, what I am doing with Supermeme is product building. We identified a problem and we want to solve it, and then we are working on building that together. But then with product management, what started happening was a lot of it became just about managing what the org wants, and working through a lot of constraints. And at the end of the day, what you want to do doesn't come out through that final output, right? You ship something because the CEO wants you to ship it. You didn't ship something because the engineering manager told you that this is not feasible, or we don't have the bandwidth for it. So a lot of that becomes managing those things than building and solving the right problem. So I think, and a lot of it also has to do with the definition of the role itself, right? For example, because I come from a school of thought that product manager needs to have authority in whatever that they are building. It's not they need to have authority on whatever that goes into the product. But if I'm responsible for one module in a product, if I don't have the authority to decide what goes in and what doesn't, then I think the product manager is going to struggle. So that is where I had a problem with. And that's why I started referring to myself as a product builder, where I decide what I'm building, and then I'm just going to keep building it. So that's a distinction that I made. And and product management being a role that it is confusing. And I've also come across experience where like, I've had to introduce myself as a product manager, and they ask me like, what do I do? And then I've struggled to explain. So, and that ended up being in one of the skits.
Yeah, I could see that that's a common issue with product management, where you're in some sense, like, I guess you're responsible, but you don't have authority for anything internally, and so you're sort of have to get a bunch of people to be on the same page, but you don't have any sort of mechanism to do that, and so is maybe inherently frustrating. I like the like product builder instead of product manager is maybe a better way of defining a role, as you're focused on building a particular solution. So let's see. Maybe so. Could we talk about metrics a bit? Like internally, what metrics are you really focused on, other than obviously number of users? And I don't know. Do you track like the number of memes? Or what?
We do, but then not very actively. I think one metric that I always keep an eye on is active users. Like how many people are we able to get back into the app? That is a number that I want to improve, because just like I know that it affects the overall revenue as well. If the more people are able to bring back, the better that they're going to stick around for a long time, because that is always a leading indicator for churn. Apart from that, we don't have a lot of metrics that we're actively tracking. I track the number of signups. I track like the major milestones we track. Like for example, 500K users. As we neared it, something that we start tracking just to make sure that it's a number that we hit. But apart from that, revenue is kind of our only metric that we actively keep an eye on. Apart from that, it's not much. Again, like I said, it's got to do with both logistics, in terms of it's not feasible for us to pick a number and just go after it. As long as broadly we are able to move the revenue in the right direction, I think we should be fine. So that's probably the reason. It's not like we don't believe in metrics, just that it's not something given the time that we have. I think we are better off focusing on building and putting things out than tracking and figuring out and talking about what we can do about it.
Yeah, revenue really is the metric that is most important. So that is what you want to focus on. But in terms of traffic coming in, with we talked about the SEO activities, and presumably for the SEO activities, you must be measuring how many visits you get and how much time people spend on the site.
Keyword focus. So I instead of just the overall traffic, I look at what keyword has the potential to move in and break into the top 10, and I just invest more time there. Overall, because I know that the overall traffic is a result of this, right? So if I take care of these individual kind of keywords, I know that's going to contribute to the overall traffic, and obviously we want the traffic to go up, and so I just focus on things that will help move the traffic up on the individual parts, than focus on the larger question of, okay, what can I do to get the overall traffic up? So I don't look at that number, but then I look at the small numbers.
Is interesting that you're clearly you grew through the sort of viral marketing loop, but it seems like it was mostly that was through SEO, that wasn't through social media. It seems like people aren't necessarily finding you as much on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or what have you, Reddit, even though you would think with memes that would be a natural place for people to find you. So that is interesting that Google search is still really dominant way of people discovering new products.
Because social media, you hit a saturation point after a while. For example, let's say I could be talking about Supermeme every day, and I know that at some point my audience is gonna be that's all he does, and they're gonna start tuning me out. So it's not a sustainable way for you to grow beyond a point if you're trying to look for new audience, because the rate at which your audience grow is not going to be the same as which you want your product. You want your product to grow at a much faster rate. So social media is very dependent on your audience. Obviously you have one or two posts that go viral once in a while, and that can help you grow. But I feel Google search is really effective, because you're putting your app in front of people who actually are looking for something. So that intent, I think, is important, and that's why traffic from Google is a lot more valuable, because when people search for AI memes and Supermeme comes on top, I would any day take that than me posting it on my social media, because I don't know who from there is actually going to find this valuable.
Right. Yeah, and that's with a lot of social media platforms. Also, the amount of reach you actually get is quite low, because the algorithms are prioritizing like the most viral content or
Yeah.
ads, basically. And chances are, the whatever you're putting into the social media platform is not, the most interesting thing on the planet, and it's also not making the social media platform money, and so they aren't going to
Yeah.
show it to everybody.
I think when you're running a business, if social media is going to be the top source of traffic, I think it's very risky. You definitely need to look at other areas, and I think being a bootstrap tech business, Google and SEO obviously tops the list.
Yeah, it's interesting in the, but like I've seen a lot of ads that are memes. Though it does seem like to grow, like social media can be very powerful, but to grow on social media, perhaps you need to run paid ads.
Oh yeah.
And that's the
or you have to have like exponentially high number of followers. You have to have 1 million, 2 million followers for. But even then, even if you look at people with like that number of following, and if you look at their posts and engagement, it's actually not that high. So it's very unpredictable, and I think it is okay if you're a influencer trying to build a personal brand. That's a great place to be. But if you're a business trying to attract audience, I think SEO is something that you should focus on.
Right. Yeah, it's because I've seen you have people who have maybe they'll have a social media account with millions of followers, but then they post something and it gets shown to a few thousand of those people.
Exactly.
Because the algorithm is valuing a whole bunch of other factors that nobody has control over, and so that is what it is. Whereas perhaps the search is a more controllable process, and like you said, there's intent. Whereas with social media, you just people are just scrolling mindlessly, and that's a different mindset, perhaps a less useful person to be in front of. Let's see. So you have it looked like you have an affiliate program on your website.
We did, but then we ended up with a not a bug. It is more like an attack where people are using the emails from the affiliate program, and the people are coming up with fake credit card information to sign up, and so we ended up with a lot of issues there. So we took it out. I think it's an area worth investing, but then we just haven't been able to get to it.
So how do you think about partnerships or collaborations? Have you been able to partner or collaborate with any other businesses in a way that's really grown your business or kind of helped?
Not yet, because one, we've not actively been reaching out to businesses to collaborate with, and I think that's mostly the reason where and it's not like we also don't have a lot to give apart from the app itself, right? And when you partner with a company, it's a commitment. You want to deliver on that. So I think we're just prioritizing our time to make sure that we just focus on building the app. And if something comes up where there is value in that partnership, we're definitely going to take it up. But it's not an area that we are actively investing in just purely for this reason. Okay? If someone wants us, yes, we're happy. But then our time is better spent in building Supermeme, because again, when we are able to get the amount of signups that we're getting, I think this is not the problem that we're thinking about, right? So these partnerships or collaboration is something that is usually lower down the list.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Usually it's better to focus on on your users and how you can how you ship products to improve the experience. You had mentioned a meme keyboard. What's a meme keyboard?
So how you have a GIF keyboard. So you go into WhatsApp and you can go into GIF emoji keyboard. So those are now part of conversations in whatever that you do. Even Slack has a GIF tab. You just click on it, type in a word, and you come up with the GIF and you send it. So meme keyboard is our way of saying, you just you would open WhatsApp and next to GIF there would be a meme, and you just click on it, you type in, and hey, there's Supermeme powering AI memes. Based on whatever you type in, you're gonna get a custom meme and you can just send it out.
So could you imagine a situation where say you have a WhatsApp chat and you have a button that is create a meme, and it would just create a meme without any kind of prompt, or that would
maybe it can be a meme to as a reply to your last message. So it needs some input, but then I definitely imagine a scenario where custom, right now we share meme templates and GIFs in a way are meme templates. It communicates an emotion. I think the next evolution would be custom memes with templates and text on top relevant to that situation is just being created on the fly, and people can send it out.
Right, because like right now on WhatsApp, to add a GIF, you still need to search for something, and then
Yeah.
you have to think
Yeah.
about it. But like you said, you could imagine a button where the AI has the previous text of the conversation, and so then gives you 2 or 3 options of like, here's a GIF to reply to.
And reply with the meme.
Right. But I could see in some situations right now, if you have a WhatsApp message and you reply with a GIF, that's sort of perceived as lazy in some way, And
Now, I think that as a trend will overall, like for example, emojis used to be like that. I can assume, like maybe like when it started, emojis weren't professional. Like you would not use emojis in emails, but right now in office communications, emojis are like just it's there. Like everyone uses them. So I see, and GIFs also. Like for example, 10 years, 15 years ago, GIFs were not part of professional communication. But I know that, like for example, Intercom has like a way of communicating with GIFs, and like Intercom is a serious business. So I see that evolution happening, and like, again, our bet is that meme is also going to be up there, and we obviously want to be there and powering some of those experiences.
right. And you could see. So could you imagine a situation where, say, a marketing department for a company has their social accounts and the company's public statements connected to something like Supermeme? So the marketing department is just like, comes in every morning and there's just a basket full of memes based on
Yep.
whatever other content they're putting out. Would you, of course, I mean that's the tricky thing, is to see like where do you see humans in the loop? Because you could imagine a situation where you have ChatGPT writing the Facebook posts and the press releases and the Twitter posts, or you have other AI tool like Tweet Hunter, or whatever AI is writing the public posts, and then Super Meme is like remixing those into memes.
Yeah.
And you just have this sort of like continuous loop of like AI is talking about whatever the company is doing.
I can definitely imagine that world.
But
The reason,
it's like in that world, where is the human? Because it's like at some point in that circle, there is some
no,
human
I
has
think
to say
humans
something.
would, like for example, let's say, like I want to run a marketing campaign. Like let's take Super Meme as an example. Like I want to talk about meme marketing. I have all the information that I have about meme marketing in like a long website. Now that's an input. So maybe there is a way where that input, I just give that website URL and say run a marketing campaign for the next 30 days. And Super Meme would take input from that page, pick out like say one paragraph or one sentence, and just schedule like 3 social media memes every day. And the tech exists for all of that to happen even today. Just that it's not something that you don't trust AI enough yet to do, especially bigger brands. But I would be comfortable doing it. Like I can do that for Supermeme website, just that we haven't had the time to get to it. But I can imagine a world where I will trust Supermeme to just automatically post memes without like me even looking at it.
Right. Yeah, I could see there is an issue of sort of trust, where it's like the
Yeah.
brand wants a consistent brand voice, and
Yeah.
they need a human to look at something and say, well, this is funny or not funny, or racist or not racist, or on
Yeah, I think that
brand.
the trust is there. Maybe like right now, if let's say if we have to implement system like that, there would be one step where there is an approval process of just a human looking at it and just clicking on approve before. And like you keep doing that long enough, and the trust would increase, and you would like kind of define and just let AI do that. But I definitely see that happening. I just don't know when. I think it also depends on, see, one of our hypotheses about memes being up there is just the nature of the people entering the workforce. That you're going to have a lot more younger people coming into the workforce, and they're used to communicating with memes. And my bet is that that's how emojis and GIFs also became popular, because as newer people come in, they're going to find common ways to communicate that in which they're comfortable with, and memes is definitely there. So I think as that happens, the overall mentality of the collective kind of workforce will change, and unimaginable situations for us could be very possible.
Right. Yeah, I could see like in some ways that intergenerational communication is sort of the challenge of like you have people who have all these sort of different sets of cultural experiences or different senses of what is normal, and that can create a complicated, I guess, communication. You know, it's like people don't like really have no sense of how things will land with other people. Like it's even like you had mentioned, there were some memes, like there's something about like a knife stabbing in the back.
Yeah.
That is like, I have no idea what that, you know, like what that reference is. And so yeah, I suppose we're living in a world where people don't really understand, you know, all of the references, and that's probably okay. It'll be certainly a more interesting, you know, memes everywhere.
Yeah.
So how do you think about creating a defensible AI business when things are changing so quickly?
I think we just need to have like the more complex, like obviously when you're building an AI business, there is at some point an API called OpenAI, right? That's most business. I'm not talking about all AI businesses, but the more work that you put in before that, and like the more custom work that happens before that, I think at least from a tech standpoint, that's where the defensibility lies. And there is also a defensibility from a brand standpoint. Like if you are able to build a brand like that becomes like, you know, that becomes kind of synonymous with what your product is. Like for us, for example, it could be like, you know, okay, if you think of memes, like eventually you want to be the default meme generator of the internet, right? So once you get there, I think your brand will help you kind of defend that position for a while. But the core product itself needs to do a lot more than just like, you know, wrapping data and just like plugging things in a different way, because eventually someone's going to figure that out. Like eventually someone's going to figure that out, and they're going to like do that and do it better than you, and you don't have business anymore. So I think that's where we are. Like for example, for us, the defensibility comes from our understanding of meme templates and what makes a meme funny, and our understanding of those templates, and the ability to generate metadata for those templates. So, and we know that even that's not going to be very defensible for a long time, right? Eventually someone's going to come up with something better. So our goal now is to, how do you strengthen that continuously? How do you keep like, you know, enriching that metadata, enriching that information about templates? So it takes a, like, you know, we're far away from that happening. So, but if we don't keep advancing there, eventually someone's definitely going to catch up.
Right. Yeah. So I could see like essentially the moat you have is the data, as you said, around each template, and the work that you've done in making each template funny, and having a large number of templates, and also different languages, and also different like figuring out how to match the prompt with the template is all a lot of work. So I know OpenAI has talked about the GPT store, and they've delayed the launch of that until next year. Would you see Super AI as part of that? Like, would you want to build inside that, or would you want to do your own
I
thing?
think that's something that we already talked about. So we like, I think we'll be ready for it when when they're launching. So I think for us now, distribution starts becoming like a focus area, right? Because the core product is somewhat, it's what it is. Like you send in text, you're going to get memes out, and we're going to constantly improve like that quality. But once we go beyond that, then we are thinking, okay, now we have mobile app. Maybe at some point we'll have a Chrome extension. Maybe we'll start listing out in like, you know, Slack marketplace or Teams marketplace. So the distribution is going to like be a different. I think that's probably going to be a way where instead of people coming into Supermeme to generate memes, we want to enable them to just do it wherever they are.
Right. And so, yeah, that certainly makes sense that you would want to, because you could do that with your API, basically. It's like you want to be the meme supplier of the internet, and you know, just do a really good job at making good memes, because that just seems like a very tricky problem. And I'm sure, like, also it seems like the kind of thing that you could get very, very, very good at, and then that becomes a defensible business. So that is very exciting. So you must have some data on what platforms are the best to distribute memes.
I mean, anecdotally, I know it's like this got nothing to do with Supermeme because we don't do any of that there. I think from personal experience, I like the potentiality of going viral is much higher on Twitter, or it used to be, because Twitter is also constantly evolving. So like what worked for me like a year back is no longer relevant. Whereas LinkedIn, I find, is a lot more forgiving. Like when it comes to, like, for example, like you could post like an unfunny like meme or content on LinkedIn, and people are kind enough that they're not gonna like say anything. But then on Twitter, you could really get bashed. So that's what I find. But like, everywhere memes are like have the, especially media content, have the higher potential to kind of go viral and work well. And I think now the social media platforms are also rewarding video content, which also has, like, for example, there are video memes that go viral. So I mean, as a product, maybe that's something that we have to think about as well. But potentially, uh, Twitter has that higher chance of going viral.
And have you seen a lot of memes on, I guess if you're like Facebook or Threads or Reddit or TikTok or
So TikTok
Pinterest?
is banned in India, so I wouldn't know much about TikTok. But then Instagram and Reddit, I think Reddit, the kind of memes that go on Reddit, it seems a lot more different. I think just the kind of user base that Reddit has is different, and because we want to focus on marketers, we primarily limited our focus area to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So that is slightly different, and I think it's a lot more complex kind of meme. The topics that they choose to meme about is a lot more deep, and it's like sometimes it's NSFW, sometimes it's offensive, and it like there's an audience for it, so that works as well. And that's not an area that I'm also personally like. I've not done those. I've always done just like office and work related memes, so that's not an area that I personally know about, and that's not an area that as Supermeme as a business that we want to focus on.
Okay, perfect. And so what AI tools do you use on a daily basis, besides obviously Supermeme and
Yeah, and mostly Supermeme and ChatGPT. ChatGPT does most of the like. All of us have a pro subscription, and like it does most of the work for us. We've tried using like multiple. I personally tried using multiple tools in the past for SEO, like try to generate content, but I find that native ChatGPT just works. And if you just know the right prompts, and if you know how to like get the right answer out of it, it just works for you.
do you have any sort of prompting tips or particular formulations that you find work to get the best responses from ChatGPT?
I think it's trial and error, because what everyone looks, for example, when I was looking at ChatGPT, I primarily just wanted it to structure my content. Like I have a broad thought. Like for example, I want to talk about meme marketing. I know what meme marketing is, and I have enough content for it. But I use ChatGPT to structure it in a logical order, and just like coming up with the labels for it. So that it's really good at doing that. Where if you have an abstract thought, it can put it into a structure, and then you can fill up those structures. So that's how I use it, because that's the need that I have, where I don't like coming up with structured content. I'm more of a, I will just like talk all over the place. So I think it's just a matter of just keep talking to ChatGPT until you get what you want, and that path is different for every individual. I've been meaning to like take up some sort of read up on prompt engineering and like some tips, but I didn't manage to do that. So
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of so there's asking it to think step by step, and then I've heard a lot of people start saying like stress that it's very important, or that's like it is important to get the right response, or to put it in the right mindset, or tell it it's an expert, one thing or the other.
yeah,
But so it sounds like you're using it to create an outline, basically.
yeah, mostly.
And so would you then use it to help sort of fill in the outline, or
Sometimes, but mostly because I know that, see, ChatGPT comes from the internet, has data from the internet. So the kind of content that we want to create, especially around meme marketing, is there's not a lot of content on it already. So a lot of it comes just from like my mind, or like our experience and like what we see. So I'm not a fan of using that to fill out the entire content piece. But then I do want, like, I will give it my fluff of, okay, these the things that I have in mind, and I want you to structure it and give it to me. And then it does a good job at that. And I would sometimes, like, if I feel like it's a generic topic, like for example, if I'm talking about the benefits of memes in marketing, that it knows, because there's a lot of content on like benefits of marketing in memes. But then I would choose to write like the more educational pieces myself on, like For example, I have a piece on the anatomy of a meme, like, what that is just like an original thought and that I want to write, but then it will still help me package it.
Right. And does it give you like critical feedback on what you've written, or have you
I've
used
never
it?
asked,
You
so I
never
don't know.
asked it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've done that a few times where it's like
Okay.
I've given it something and I've been like, write the most critical thing, like like what's
Okay.
wrong with this essentially.
I should try that, because like I said, I've prioritized just publishing and quantity. I never paused to check it for quality. I just want to get those pages out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Like how different people use it in different ways.
Yeah.
And so I saw you went through Seth Godin's Alt MBA
Yep.
program. Like, what would you say is the most important thing you took away from that?
I think the most important thing for me is it is just surprising to see, because you get to meet with so many people from different locations. Just the fact that, like the discovery that you just talked about, it's interesting to see how different people use different things and see different things. So that was my biggest takeaway, where when you're working, like, because you're put together in a breakout room and you're trying to solve a problem together, and you just see so many conflicting views and so many different perspectives, that it takes a while for you to understand that, okay, as you're trying to solve the problem, it's not like they're coming at it from a way that they want to discredit your idea or discount like the way that you think. It's just that they're built, the things that they've seen and their environment is so different that they just naturally think that way. So it's not like, you might, in your head you might be thinking that's so stupid, like why would you even suggest something like that? But then in reality, in their version and their world, that sounds right. So I think that was my biggest takeaway, where I just learned to appreciate that people come from different places and like different backgrounds, and when they approach a problem, it's not like there's only one right way. In their lens and their perspective, like that's what they've seen.
Interesting. So it's sort of so like being able to empathize with people who are like have radically different perspectives, perhaps, and like looking at it in a non-judgmental way, perhaps.
Yeah, because growing up, you've always been taught that there's one right answer, especially I don't know about the US, but in the Indian education system, there's always one right answer. Like you go to a test, there is always one right answer. There's always one thing. You're either right or you're wrong. So I think that mindset kind of catches up to you like when you're working as well, and that's not going to help you much later, and especially when you're trying to solve complex problems where there is no one right answer. There is no one way to solve it. So I think that mindset and empathy of just appreciating different, not just solutions, but also thought process on how they arrive at that place is important.
But then if you have to collaborate with them on a project where it's in many cases there isn't a right answer, but there has to be a answer that you agree on.
Yeah, there has to be a solution. I think the sooner you understand that there is no right answer and there are different thought process, the sooner you will get to an answer. Because the resistance comes when you have a different thought process, someone else has a different thought process, and you're trying to fight on why you're like this is the right thing to do. I think you have to and that helps in business building as well, right? For example, with Supermeme, there are hundreds and thousands of different ways in which we could have done different things. But at some point, we should have the maturity to say, okay, we'll just pick this and we'll go. And that has to come from the fact that you might have an idea, but then it's a lot more important to get that done, get an idea or some idea done, than they just sit and fight about. I think Alt MBA, especially those weekend projects where we would spend 8 hours in a breakout room and then we'll work on something. And obviously, it's a stressful environment, right? So it's important to understand that it's important to get that thing done within 8 hours, and for that you have to appreciate that you can't just stick to your idea. There are different schools of thought.
Yeah. So how would you say? What is some good techniques you've seen to sort of build consensus in that way when you have a group of people who are just thinking incredibly differently? Because I imagine you've had a similar issues with with Supermeme, where you have 3 people who have never met each other and you're trying to get on the same page relatively quickly.
I think what happens is that, let's say if you have an idea that's slightly unconventional, you could spend hours trying to get them to see it, and you could talk for a very long time and still not get a solution. I think what really works is move fast and then let the external result kind of drive decisions. For example, if you want to build a feature, this is a fictional scenario, but then I could be spending hours trying to convince Nico and Ramsey that we have to build this, or I could just post something on Twitter saying that this is what we're thinking, and then let people give me feedback there, and then use that to say this is not my idea, but then an hypothesis that I had, and then I'm putting it out, and there is data and evidence for me to start talking about it. I think we don't do that a lot, where we're constantly just sticking in the idea phase and spending a lot of time there. I think we need to find ways to move from idea phase and get it validated in some real world scenario, and then use that as a base for your conversations.
Right, because I think it's like most ideas, once they encounter the real world, you discover that they are bad ideas.
Yeah.
And so,
or even you discover they're good ideas, but then at least it's no longer just you talking about it. Really, there is something else that is backing you up, that is giving you evidence or something like that.
right. Yeah. So then you can use you use reality as a way of getting on the same page. Is hopefully people have some shared sense of reality.
Yeah. Because then it's not personal. Like, let's say if I keep talking about something for a very long time, obviously there is going to build up some sort of defense in the other person, because it just sounds like I'm just trying to get my idea through. But then the moment I make it real with some external feedback, some like external validation, some data, something, then we're discussing about that. We're not discussing my idea, but then we're discussing feedback that we got from Twitter or feedback that we got from a customer. So the lens of the conversation then becomes different.
Right, because then people are talking about what, like, is this a customer that you want to, that you should be serving, or are these people on Twitter? Are their opinions important or not important? And you can, I could see combined feedback from multiple different sources to sort of build a case for an idea one way or the other. Can you share, like, what is one of the projects that you worked on at the Alt MBA?
I don't remember, because it's been a very long time. Yeah, it is a while ago. I do remember like just spending 8 hours on it, but nothing comes to mind right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems like you had some good takeaways from that program. Let's see, what was so how would I know that there are a number of other meme builders or meme generators, like there's Image Flip, which I've used, and Copy.ai, and there are a lot of other companies in the space. How would you articulate why somebody should use Supermeme instead of, say, going to ChatGPT and taking the output and putting it into Image Flip, which you could do?
I think the same as a defensibility, right? I think we understand memes a lot better, and we're always only going to be a AI meme generator company. Like, we're never going to expand into some text generation. We're not going to be social media company or a marketing company, and that specialization I think is important. I'm a huge fan of Image Flip as well. Like, I've used that extensively. So I think in terms of evolution of memes, I feel like AI memes is an assist, like just like how ChatGPT is an assist for me to write good blog article. I'm still doing a lot of that work. So AI memes is an assist for you to create those memes. So maybe you use Supermeme.ai and then you come up with something it comes up with something that gives you an idea of to make a meme from there, instead of staring at a blank page on Image Flip. So I think if we are comparing ourselves with other AI meme generators, I would just say that we are the knowledge of the memes that we have is putting us in a different league. And if you're comparing us with traditional meme creators, I think we're just leveraging AI to solve that blank state problem, where you don't have to look at a blank page. You have something to work with.
If you enjoy this, you should sign up to our free newsletter, 3600. In our newsletter, we have valuable content that goes beyond what's available in our videos, links to free tools, resources, and all kinds of awesome stuff. You should head over to our website, join3600.com, to sign up today.